I realize most of you are still picking away on this one. But first of all, can anybody tell me how you divided this up? Did anybody divide it up? From here to here? Okay. And that's probably the way it works best. Now, with this, I can find the length of that blue line. I'm going to call that side C. So the length of C squared would be 45 squared plus 51 squared minus 2 times 45 times 51 times the cosine of 86 degrees. Does that look familiar? Okay, so I'm going to punch this in my calculator all at once. I'm going to actually do square root so I can undo the C squared, right? 45 squared plus 51 squared minus 2 times 45 times. Now I'm going to pause there for a second because I'm going to scroll off the screen in just the next couple of keystrokes. Make sure you guys have that all down. So minus 2 times 45 times 51 times the cosine of 86. I have to close my parentheses once. Most of you will have to close them twice because your square root generated a parentheses. I hit equals and I get 65.62. Now, with what we have here, we have enough to find the area of this whole thing. I know piece 1 here has an area. Remember how we found area, right? If we had non-right triangles, we just did A times B times sine of C over 2, right? That look familiar? So 45 times 51 times sine of 86 divided by 2, 1144.70. That's going to be square feet. The second triangle up here, I could use Hero's formula because I have all 3 sides. But I'm being asked to find this angle here anyway. So let's make it easier on ourselves and find that angle first. Hero's formula is really kind of tedious to do. It's a lot of steps. To find that angle, I'm going to use my law of cosines again, with that being my angle, this being side C. So 65.62 squared equals 54 squared plus 52 squared minus 2 times 54 times 52 times the cosine of theta. We don't know the angle. So 65.62 squared is 4305.98. 54 squared is what, 2916? Cool, I'm not totally lost today. 52 squared, 2704. That's still plus. And then minus 2 times 54 times 52 is 5,5616 times the cosine of theta. Which ones of these can I subtract? The first two, right? I can subtract those two. So 4305.98 minus 2916 minus 2704 should be a negative 1314.02. That equals over here a negative 56/16 times cosine of theta. What's our next move? Divide by the negative 56/16. So negative 1314.02 divided by negative 56/16 is 0.2340, looks like. Then what? Inverse cosine. So second cosine, second answer, 76.47 degrees. Everybody with me on that? So there is my angle, 76.47 degrees. That was one of the things we had to find for that problem. Now to find area of 2, it's going to be 54 times 52 times the sine of 76.47 degrees over 2. $1365.03 square feet. So we have to add those two areas together. $2,509.73 square feet. Now you can see I kind of snidely asked for the acreage here. I say snidely because, 50 by 50 sounds like a relatively decent sized lot. But what would it be in acres? Well, 2,509 square feet. I'm going to divide by what to turn into acres? 43,560. There you go. .058 acres. So it's about an 1/18 of an acre. Most city lots are at least a half acre. If you guys ever, what the standard size of a city lot is? They say it's 150 feet by 150 feet, but it's not. Take 43,560 divided by 2, gives you 21,780 square feet. You square root that. It's technically 147 feet 7 inches. Is a city lot per side. That's for a square lot. Okay. Since you guys are having so much fun with those, I'm going to have you find theta in the area. Where do we cut it? Okay, what's the length of that green line? C. What's the length of C?
I got 3, 2, 3. I got something different. I got 1, 2, 6.
Well, let's see what I get.
Okay.
230, 280, 79. Okay. $326.69. Try it again, see if you can get that 326.69. Remember, on your calculator, I think you have to do 2 closed parentheses in the end.
I definitely tried it before.
Okay. It worked? Okay. To find theta, there's your formula. Does that look familiar? So I've got to take the 326 squared, which is 106,723.8. $250 squared is 62,500, correct? Let's see, what is this going to be? 48,400 minus 11,000. There's the cosine of theta. What do we subtract? Those two, right? So I take the 106,723.8 and I'm going to subtract 62,500 and subtract 48,400 to get a negative 4176.20 equals a negative 11,000 times cosine of theta. And then divide by negative 11,000. Point 3797. Let's cosine theta. And then inverse cosine. $67.69 degrees. That is one of the more honest assessments of your day that I've ever heard, Tate. 67.69 degrees. So for areas, area 1, 230 times 280 times sine of 79 divided by 2. 31,608.4, we'll call it. Area 2, 250 times 220 times sine is 67.69 divided by 2. 25,441.4. Yeah, give me just a second here. So 57,049.8 square feet. There's our area. Or if I wanted it in acres, Got the 57,049. I'm going to divide by 43,560 square feet per acre. So it's 1.31 acres. Okay, we'll get down there for you. There you go. Next, we're going to do one similar to problem number 9. If you remember, we did a problem similar to this back in the first few weeks of the semester. I'm going to add a couple of things that aren't in your number 9, just because they make life easier if I put them in there. Let's find all those angles and all those lengths. The angles are easy to find because they are heel angles. What do I mean by heel angles? They're angles formed in the bottom lower corner of a truss. That's the heel of the truss. The heel angle is found directly from the slope. The heel angle, in fact, is the inverse tangent of the slope. So beta is this one here, is the inverse tangent of its slope. What slope is it on? The 612 slope. The inverse tangent of 612 should be 26.56 degrees. 57, actually, I should say. 26.57 degrees. That's beta. How would I find angle alpha? Inverse tangent of 9/12. What's that one going to give us? What'd you get? 36.87. You are correct, sir. You know, a lot of people think, well, isn't a halfway angle, isn't that 45 degrees? So shouldn't 612 be 45 degrees? What slope gives you 45 degrees? 12/12 gives you 45 degrees. Perfect. So as long as we're under a 12/12, the angle should be under 45. How do we find theta? There you go. Okay, just take 180 degrees and subtract each of these two. Okay? Because the whole triangle has to be 180 degrees. And now, the part you've all been waiting for. X and Y. And J1 and J2. And H, for that matter. How would we find H? Any ideas? Does that look familiar? So remember, we're looking at the big triangle here now. We're ignoring h to the middle. This side here is 30 over the sine of this angle of 116.56 equals J2 over the sine of its opposite angle, which is alpha of 36.87. Now you're just kissing up.
I'll tell you one thing. Put in those types of order underneath them. You lot of them start kicking in.
Oh yeah? That's back to your standard form that you like?
Yeah.
So J2 here is 20.12 feet. How about J1? I'll let you guys find that on your own. I'll give you a couple minutes. What is it? 15 exactly? 15.40? Well, let's see whether it's the 15.00 or the 14.8. So we've got 30 over the sine of 116.56 degrees equals J2 over the sine of 26.57 degrees.
Oh, I did 25.57.
That'll do it. Okay, so 15.00 is our winner. How do I find x and y? Oh, it's really easy. It's nowhere near as difficult as it was before, where we had to do x plus y equals 30. And we just cut it right here, right? This is now a right triangle. This is the adjacent side. That's the hypotenuse. So cosine of alpha, which is 36.87 degrees, is equal to x over 15.00. So we'll make this over 1. We cross multiply and divide. 15 times the cosine of 36.87 degrees divided by 1. 11.99999, so 12 feet. So y better be 18 feet. You can double check it doing the same thing over there. Cosine of 26.57 better equal y over 20.12. What do you think?
I like it. Giant fan of it. Yeah. You do good.
Okay. Well, I'll give you the last 7 minutes or so here to start working on the other problems on this worksheet, because we're going to get a new worksheet in the second hour today. Let's do this. So, we're looking to find roof area here. The main difference on this one compared to the example we did in class a while ago is that this one has overhangs. But this is a 512 here, 912 here, so similar. I'm going to trust you guys can find theta when we get to it. What's this angle right here have to be? How do I find it? Inverse tangent of the 512. Should be 22.62. How about this angle right here? The one that you can see speaking out there, right there.
36.87.
That sounds correct to me. 36.87 is correct. That's the inverse tangent of the 912. Which of course makes this angle up here, theta, $120.51. Does it sound good? Sounds wonderful. Okay. So now what we are finding here is going to be the distance from here to here. we've got 32 over the sine of 120.51 equals that distance over the sine of what? 36.87. Good. (32 times sine 36.87 divided by sine 120.51). 22.29 feet. Now that is not the length of that roof because I do have the overhang. No, I cannot add 3 feet to that. Now we're going to find this one over here. Our setup should be the same. 32 with a sine of 120.51 equals that length over the sine of 22.62. That actually sounds pretty reasonable. No, I'm at 14.29. Same fight. Get it to work?
Yes.
Okay. So now I'm going to cut it down through here. I'm going to find this distance right here. And this distance right here. Cosine of 22.62 is going to equal x over 22.29. So cosine 22.62 times 22.29 feet divided by 1, of course, gives us 20.58. So this here is 20.58 feet, which makes y 11.42 feet. Questions there? I'll give Tate a second to catch up here. Anybody actually make it to that point? Our next step involves us to use a triangle similar to the one we just used, only bigger. We're going to use this triangle here. It's still a 512 slope. Do we know this? And actually this angle here is still 22.62 degrees. What's this length down here? You had the right idea. The 20.58 plus the 3. You had the plus 3 part, you're adding it to the wrong thing. So 23.58 is that base. In your notes, find that length for me. So we're using cosine, right? So 1 times 23.58 divided by the cosine of 22.62. 25.55. Correct? So that means this here, 25.55 feet. I want you in your notes to find this side over here. I shall pause. Okay, so what did we do? What is it? 13.42. And this is 36.87, yeah, right? And yes, cosine 36.87 degrees equals over whatever we're trying to find, right? So 13.42 divided by the cosine, 16.78. Well, believe it or not, the hard work on this problem is done now. Your front view looks like this, right? 44 feet, 1 foot overhang, right? Which makes this 46 feet. So that roof is made up of 2 panels, both that are 46 feet long. This first panel is 16.78 feet wide. Second panel is 25.55 feet wide. So it's 25.55 by 46 and 16.78 by 46. Or you can just add the 25.55 and the 16.78. You get 42.33 times 46 would be the area of the whole thing all at once. What do you think? Jolly good stuff? Okay. You got problems 2 and 3 there that involve hip roofs. I'm going to give you a couple of hints here. Then I'm going to turn you loose. So there's a hip roof. Here's the hint I'm going to give you. Find the ridge length. To know the ridge length, you need to know the setback, right? Setback will be the same on both ends. Once you know that, you're going to create a triangle here. This triangle, this is the length of the common rafter here. And this is your setback. And you can use that right triangle to find this angle here. What's this angle right here going to be? 90. So then your angle theta, which is actually drawn up here, is going to be just 90 plus this angle you found here. Over here, you can do something similar. You can find the length of that longest hip jack and take half your span. If this is a 30-foot span in the picture for number 2, that makes half of it 15. So you have that right angle there. You can use that to find this angle. What would you do then to find alpha from that angle? If you know this angle, alpha is double it. Alpha is the whole thing. Okay, this one's here. Yeah, those two are the same. So you just double it to get alpha. So I want you guys to work on that one for our last 13 minutes or so here. On Thursday, we'll talk about this one a little bit more. And yes, there will be a quiz involved at some point on Thursday.